Welcome to Dark Horse Paranormal. I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I'm Kristen Johnson.
Happy Thirsty Thursday.
Happy Thirsty Thursday.
Hi. How you doing out there? We have an awesome show planned for you guys. And I don't know if you saw our interview last week on Ghost Education 101.
Ghost Ed 101.
Ghost Ed 101. If you haven't, check out the archives wherever you're watching us right now, particularly Paranormal United Network. We want to give a couple of shout outs. We want to say a huge thank you to our very good friend and host of the podcast that you can find on YouTube called Small, Medium, at Large, Gail Hyson, for sending us these fruits. We have pears and apples here, and they're dried, and they're grown in her yard, quite literally. And
she has an orchard.
She is just so cool. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you,
You're
Gail.
out there. We really appreciate it. As you know,
we love you.
We love you. And if you haven't seen her show yet, do check it out. There's a lot of parapsychology type guests on there. And it is a wicked good show. Small, Medium, at Large. And you can find it on YouTube. So do check that out. I also want to give a shout out to our friend, Robert Lindsay Milne, who also has a podcast on YouTube called My Side of the Crystal Ball. Recommending a guest for us, and it's just a good friend of ours, and he's been on lots of times. I'm sure you guys have seen him. Thanks, Robert, and hello.
Thank you, Robert.
I want to say get well soon to our friend James Anito, who's in the hospital. And I swear, it seems like everybody is sick right now. Like
it does.
You know, I know about Omicron and how many people are ill from that, but if it isn't Omicron, it's like something else. Like I am totally afraid to even open up my social media anymore. So we really appreciate you guys for being here, watching us.
Thank you.
Thank you. As far as what we're up to, we're still doing the Hemisync here. I got it here on my shirt.
Gateway.
I liked it so much. I bought the t-shirt, and we're working on that together and having some pretty interesting experiences.
Yes, most definitely.
We're going to detail for you guys real soon, out of body experiences and whatnot. And I think we're going to get right to things. So our guests have really great bios, so please be patient with me while I work through them. We have Heather Leigh Carroll-Landon. Dr. Heather she started her journey in the paranormal field more than 30 years ago as a teenager after multiple interactions with her grandfather who passed away many years prior. Throughout the years following, she had researched and traveled to locations in order to learn more about the history and paranormal claims. She holds a doctorate of philosophy and metaphysical humanistic science, specializing in paranormal science. She is a certified paranormal investigator, CPI, and a certified EVP technician, CET. Her goal is to help others take a more scientific approach to the paranormal investigations and research, which I think is great. Heather Leigh is a member of the International Paranormal Bureau of Investigations and Research, chief administrator and regional director of the Northeastern United States for the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research, and a member of Paranexus Anomalous Research Association. She's the author of articles including The Real Paranormal Magazine UK, and author Ghosts of Nevada Ghost Towns, as well as lecturer of all things paranormal and co-host and content contributor for Touch of Magic. And I definitely want to dig into that. Podcast about magic and the paranormal. Teaches classes through iMystic University. She is the co-host of the Warren Files, which features Chris McKinnell, and co-host of Ghost Education 101, which we were on last week, which was fantastic.
It's a great show.
She is also the founder of the Exploration Paranormal and co-founder of Witches Paranormal Society. Our other guest is Philip, her co-host on Ghost Education 101. And Philip is an evidential spirit medium and experienced paranormal researcher and investigator for the Mystery Center for Advanced Paranormal Phenomena. He has an extensive background in the study and practice of ITC, which we talked about quite a bit last week, which was awesome and phenomenal because I love ITC myself. Instrumental transcommunication. He combines his beliefs in the afterlife along with his gifts as a medium together with science and technology to establish a connection and communication between the living and spirit. He is the founder and administrator for the group, the ITC Collaboration, a group of ITC enthusiasts, which consists of over 500 members performing worldwide ITC experiments. And this is something we definitely need to talk to him about. Yeah, I know you guys, some of you saw a surfing show earlier, and we've done that. Surfing is in Florida, and we're in New England, and we have friends in Canada, and we've done experiments online that where we all got kind of the same results, and that's pretty fascinating. He's a developer for Android ITC Spirit Communication app, the ITC Collaboration Pro, available on Google Play. Philip has published 3 books, The Art of Spirit, The Artful Spirits, and Spirit Reflections, which are collections of spirit images derived from the ancient form of divination called water scrying. Another interesting topic there. Philip has been featured at DragonCon conventions in Atlanta, Georgia, as a lecturer in the paranormal field, as a staff writer for Paranormal Magazine, The Paranormal Inquisitor. Philip presents his views and thoughts on many different paranormal topics. So let me bring them right on. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
We got you as in mid sip of that.
Sorry, I tried to get it.
But I feel like it was well deserved because you both have so many accomplishments in the paranormal field.
We try.
And I do want to make note, I sent you Philip's old bio. His team name has actually changed, so I'll let him.
Georgia Paranormal Investigations, yes.
Okay. Yes, I read that because I just read what's in front of me, but yeah, I have your web link up, which is georgiaparanormalinvestigations.com.
Yay.
And you have a quite a fantastic team there.
We have a great team. Good people, open-minded people, willing to learn. It's just a great team. We have a good time.
It looks very robust and well-rounded.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. I like that. Everybody brings something different to the team. We can get into that later. But everyone on the team needs to know everything about being on a team. We don't do any specifics. Like there's not one researcher. There's not one tech person. There's not one camera person. I think it's important that everybody needs to know how to do everything that's on a team, because there may be someone that can't do something that has a label, like the tech person may not be able to go to investigation, and then everybody's stuck. How do we put the DVR together? That doesn't happen with us. Right.
Well, that's a very good method, because there is a lot to it. And running a large scale team like that, there is a lot involved. There's a lot of intricacies, for sure. I'd like to start maybe with your childhoods. Did you guys have haunted childhoods? I know this is something we talked about last week when we had the tables turned, right? And I was curious about both of you. And Heather, would you like to go first?
Yeah, when I was about 17, I started seeing my grandfather. He would appear to me in dreams at the foot of my bed, side of my bed. I would see him passing in a hallway in the reflection of a mirror. And what got me started in the paranormal field is those interactions, because we had moved to a home that he had never been in before he died. So, back then in the 80s, it was a belief that someone had to die in a place in order to haunt it. So that kind of piqued my interest as to well, why am I seeing him if this is the belief? So I just continued. And from there, as far as haunted experiences, not really outside of that. But that's really what got me interested.
Well, those are pretty haunted experiences, seeing his reflection in a mirror and that sort of thing. How did you feel about that? Were you able to talk about it with family, or was it something you had to keep inside yourself and search for those answers?
A little bit of both. I was able to talk about it, but it was one of those where everyone in my family was skeptical, and I don't want to say non-believing, but back then it was just kind of unknown. But now that I've gotten older, we all talk about it more freely.
Yeah, and times have changed a bit. We also remember the 80s.
Yep.
I don't know how that happened, but
best music in the world was from the 80s.
Tuck away a few wrinkles there. Yeah, and it wasn't a common subject. Back then, I remember reading like Hans Holzer books and things of that nature, but there wasn't really much going on in the paranormal world.
Yeah.
You know, other than maybe horror movies like Amityville Horror, and Poltergeist, and things of that nature, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
How about you, Philip? Did you have paranormal experiences when you were a child?
The first recollection I have, I was probably 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure, but under the door to my bedroom, there was probably like an inch of space, and the light would come in from the living room. And I remember turning over and looking, and there was the silhouette of a woman standing right next to my bed. And I said, "Mom." And then it went away, and then I screamed bloody murder. And my mother came in, "What's wrong?" And I just said, "There was somebody here." And, "Oh, go back to sleep." That was it. And then later I started seeing people in costumes. I don't know how to describe it. And I just thought I was imagining these things because if I said anything, it was like, I'll stop making things up.
What kind of costumes? I'm sorry. Do you mean like
Just
old vintage wear, or
depend on where I was. I would think there were people there like dressed up. It's hard to explain. If we'd be in somewhere where there was a 1920s building, sometimes I would see that, like in a flapper dress or something.
okay?
And I became very introverted because, I couldn't talk about this. My mother was a Sunday school teacher, and my dad was a fireman, a volunteer fireman. We lived in the country. You were going to hell if you did anything wrong.
Right?
So I just shut up. I didn't say anything. And I kind of pushed it all away. And then later in my life, figured out what the heck was going on. There was no internet. There weren't any books at the library about mediums and psychics and ghosts and things. They're just, not in my hometown, which was, the size of this room back then. So I just kind of kept my mouth shut and went on about my life, and it kind of just went away. So were they ghosts? No, I think they knew I could see them, I guess. But I didn't understand any of it. I didn't understand it at all.
When you say costumes, do you feel like you understand it better now? Like why that might
Totally
be?
get it, because now when I see a spirit, I can date them by what they're wearing sometimes, and which helps when you're like giving a reading to somebody. I'll say, "Well, she's wearing, her glasses look like the large glasses that you wear in the 70s, and her clothes, she's got on bell bottom," that kind of thing, and it helps to identify the person.
Isn't it funny how the 70s became old?
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
We're all dating ourselves here.
I loved watching Scooby-Doo as a kid, but I would hide behind the chair and peep around because it scared me to death.
Yeah, I enjoyed Scooby as well, and loved horror movies, but I liked it up until they added Scrappy. Once they added Scrappy, I felt they jumped the mark, and that was like
that was too silly. That made it silly over the top for me when they came along.
I like the classic Scooby-Doo as well.
I like the way you said jump the shark. That's
Yeah, absolutely. Fonzie going over the shark, which unfortunately we probably all remember as well.
That's why I said that.
So these questions that you had, both of you as children, do you think that was the driving force for you getting involved in the paranormal later?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wanting to know the answers and like, did I really see that? And want some legitimacy. I know you both have science type backgrounds, which I think is great because there's, this is a science. It's just not all of it's been proven yet, but it will be.
We're trying. We're all trying.
And,
one day.
Yeah, one day.
Yep.
It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, but I had the Bible drilled into me my whole childhood. So questioning things I was seeing made me terrified. It's like, I shouldn't be seeing this. That's, Mom says I'm going to hell if I don't behave and do this and this and this and this. And like, this doesn't fit into what I've been taught. And I just went into a shell. I mean, basically.
And it probably seemed very anti toward the culture you were growing up in. I mean, as a child of the 80s myself, I know those kind of things, it seemed like they would always be at opposition.
They were. I mean, I'm 56, so this was way back,
Yeah. Oh, you look great for 56.
Yeah,
my
you
friend.
do.
I have really good lighting.
No, that's awesome. But
Right.
in the 80s, I feel like the religion stuff started to kind of separate. Like the 80s was kind of like the 60s in a way, people kind of came out of the shells and they were pushing back on that stuff, although it still existed. I remember like record burnings and stuff like that, and people were burning Motley Crue and Merciful Fate records in the streets, and
Yeah, that's sad.
Satanic Panic and all of that stuff.
But you mentioned Amityville. I was in the 7th grade when that book came out, and we had to do a book report and read a book. It's like which now looking back, it's like no wonder they thought I was nuts, because that's doing my book report on Amityville horror. But I would sit in the bed, and when I got to the part about the red eyes in the window, I had to close my curtains. I could never go in my room at night with the curtains open because I was afraid I was going to see those red eyes outside the window. But the whole thing about the paranormal and all that from that book kind of planted a seed again that I carried with me through the years, but was still too afraid to do anything about it.
Yeah,
I understand that one completely. That's actually what I did too. So, as you know,
totally understand. Hey, Nathaniel, how you doing, buddy? Hey, Joshua. Lots of people out there. Kelly has a question for you. How did you develop your medium skills you have now? And I'm assuming this is pointed at both of you.
That's more Philip. I'm not a medium.
Oh, you don't use the medium. Okay, all right.
Nope.
No, I apologize. I do want to touch on magic with you because I did see that in your bio, and I was very intrigued. But we'll come back to that. Mediumistic skills, Philip.
I've been taking classes with teachers for several years. I mean, you have to do it properly. You really need good training and to know, because when it started coming back and I started opening up and kind of embracing it, it was overwhelming because they were everywhere. They're by the bed. They're waking me up in the middle of the night. And it was exciting because I was much older, more secure in who I was, the place in my life. And I had to figure out how to turn that off because I didn't know how. So I sought help with that and began my training that way with some really good people. Susan Barnes is one of my really good mentors. She's out of Lilydale in New York. I'm not sure if you've heard of Lilydale. It's like the spiritualist capital in the United States. Yeah, so it takes a lot of. Some people say, "Oh, I'm a natural medium," blah blah blah. But there's certain ethics and standards and diplomacy you need when you're giving somebody a message that I hear horror stories about when people, oh, I see them in the car crash and their throat slit and blah, blah. It's like, you don't do those things, and you got to learn the right way to do it.
What do you do if you see somebody who's, say, about to expire?
I do not ask for that. You can tell your guides and your helpers on the other side what you want to have and what you don't want to have. I was starting to get clear audience where I would hear voices, and I can't stand that. It freaks me out. And I have ringing in my left ear, which is part of this, and to hear people talk from the other room, I don't want that. And I just said, look, I appreciate it, but I can't have that. The ringing in the ear is bad enough. I don't want to hear voices. Give me the information.
You're setting rules for them? They will adhere to the rules that you set?
Yeah, I mean, they have to. I mean, I will ask them for lessons and things. So like, all right, in this class tonight, let's just do something different. I need to learn something different. And I may get a double link and I have to figure out who it is I'm linking with out of the two people for two different people. And I'll go, oh, well, I didn't mean it that difficult, do something a little easier. So Yeah, they're there to help you. I mean, everybody has spirit guides. You have to learn how to pay attention to them and figure out how you connect with them and how they let you know that they're around. Mine are with numbers. I ask for numbers in triples, and I say, driving to work, do you have a message for me? What do I need to know today? And car pulled in front of me, and it'll have 444 on the license tag.
And how do you take that as a message?
I think thanks. And I usually look it up because most of them is I need to think positive. I'll be having some negative, oh, poor me thoughts. And that number will be put in my face. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. So, but everyone can do that. I mean, you just have to learn how to feel the energy when they're with you.
How to listen. I think for myself, the more I listen and just stop and look around me, the more signs I see. You know, it's easy to overthink things and miss the message I think that they're trying to give.
Sometimes. Oh yeah, we miss them every day. I mean, they're here. They can't change our path, but they can help guide you through it.
That's good.
That's excellent. Heather, I noticed in your bio, getting back to the magic thing, there was some references there to witchcraft and magic, and we're big fans of that as well. And how do you see that fitting into the paranormal?
I see it fitting wholeheartedly into the paranormal. It helps with guidance. You know, I don't know if you guys saw, but yesterday on the Warren Files, we did a whole presentation on herbs and how herbs and herbal magic can be used in the paranormal for protection, opening up your psychic abilities. You know, a whole bunch of different purposes with it. You have crystals that you can use with the paranormal. It's one of those things where, I mean, any religion can work with the paranormal as long as you believe in it. And when it comes to magic and witchcraft, I've personally, just because it's what I do, I feel we have a closer connection to the paranormal just because of the practices we practice. You know, we seek out our spirit guides, you know, regularly. We, you know, get grounded. We connect with the earth and the vibrations to reach out to the rest of the world. And I feel that that's our way to connect also to the spirit world.
And Hollywood's given the name witchcraft a bad rap.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at what it is.
Yeah.
And when you say witchcraft, it's like you think pointed hat, big nose with a war broom, going to eat the children. And that's Hollywood has done that.
Or negative spell work. You know, it's my experience that everybody I've known that's been really into witchcraft, like on a serious level, or sorcery, magic in general. You know, magic as defined by Aleister Crowley as, actually I had it up here because I couldn't remember it. The science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. Definition I think I'd agree with. Tends to be working on self-improvement more than anything.
Yes. Yeah, I feel when I actually focus on practicing it, because it's one of those things where I'm a big person where I can tell everybody what they should do or how they should do something. And this is what you need to do for this, this, and this. But I am like the worst person when it comes to doing it myself. And I personally feel that when I focus, when I am actually wearing my crystals, when I do my meditations or anything like that, I actually feel like I'm happier. I end up eating better. Just, you know, I don't know. I don't even think about it. I just go for, you know, the fruits and vegetables instead of the chocolate cake, you know, type of thing. And it just makes me feel better. And that's part of what I'm trying to also develop is the idea of self-possession, to where if you are fully believe in yourself and believe in your abilities and 100% trust you are actually possessing yourself like a spirit would. But then you're leaving no room for spirits or negative entities or even negative people in the world to negatively affect you.
Right. Which again is like self-improvement, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think some people are reactionary magicians and witches. And I'll put that and even in quotes because I don't take them as serious as other folks that are working on themselves, because it just seems like they're only interested in it when they're mad at somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people are, and it can be used. I mean, if you use it for negative purposes, you need to be prepared for what can come back to you. Because, I mean, essentially you can do a love spell, for example, but that's more or less to bring love to you in any form. But if you actually try to do a spell to make a specific person love you, you're actually affecting their free will.
Right.
And that's considered negative, and that can come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So
make
do you-
it a general love spell. And
I can do that. I'll send my love spell bottle kit.
that's what I need.
Nothing wrong with that necessarily. Like we like hoodoo, and that stuff's pretty raw and like very much like folk magic, you know. I don't know. Do you believe in the karmic laws? Do you believe it's a sevenfold thing or something like that?
It's kind of strange how to explain that, because I know when I've worked with Chris McKinnell, and I don't want to say because I know I'm going to butcher it, and he's gonna, but you guys can clarify it with him this weekend. But karma is essentially working through your past lives and dealing with what you did in your past lives. It's not really something that you do in this life. So, Chris, if I'm butchering it, I'm sorry. You can explain it to them on Saturday. But I do believe that if you try to at least take away someone's free will, that's when the problem occurs. And that's when, I mean, for me, that's when Mother Nature steps in and says,
Yeah. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you think it becomes a thing of like when you pass your next reincarnation, you have to kind of make up for the thing you did in the past lifetime? Like now this becomes your kind of goal.
Right. You kind of seek redemption.
That's interesting. I think most people think of it in terms of their one lifetime. So that kind of does explain, like, you know,
Right.
you might have accidentally ran over the cat and not paid any consequences.
Well, that's your fault for not paying attention.
Right. You'll be forced to pay attention on that. Next.
So my question is, let's say someone has negative karma coming towards them for something bad that they did. Is wanting to see karma happening to that person negative too? Is that also a negative? And I mean, because you're wanting to see them get theirs for
Right.
It is
tough.
to a point. At least I would think it would be, because I just view it, if someone does me wrong, yeah, I'm mad, I'm pissed off, and I feel like sending every negative energy I have towards them. But I feel better if I just take some deep breaths and move on.
Keep your vibration higher by
Right.
Be a bigger person.
Yeah, it takes time to learn these things. I mean, it certainly has taken me a long time, like a whole lifetime, to kind of learn some of those kind of simple lessons, you know, and it seems like part of growing up. So in a way, karma is this kind of thing, like if you push me, I'm going to push you back. And it's also this kind of thing of maturing and learning how to deal with the world around you.
Right. And it creates a negative cycle, because if they do bad to you, you do bad to them, then bad's going to come back to you, but then bad's going to go back to them. And it's just someone needs to break the cycle.
Right.
And then we all look at like the one person in the room who's really evil and just say, well, I, you know, wish bad things upon them. And just wonder how they get so damn evil. You know, it seems like there's a percentage of people, like there is perhaps spirits and perhaps aliens, you know, perhaps interdimensional beings that is just kind of evil, but not all ghosts are evil. Not all hauntings are negative, correct? Is that how you guys feel as well?
Definitely. I mean, I know Philip probably feels the same way, and I'll let him explain too, but it's when a human spirit, they're what they are in the afterlife, what they were in real life. If they were a mean, vicious person in real life, they're going to be a nasty spirit in the afterlife.
If they're still in this earth plane, they will take with them what they've always had. If they go to the light for spiritual involvement, then no,
Right, but do they go to the light if they're mean? And those are the ones that tend to stick around.
That's the problem.
Right, which is kind of telling in itself, right? So if they're more likely to be earthbound because they're afraid of heaven or don't want any part of it, and they are just pretty much evil bastards, isn't that just kind of a negative entity, like in all these ways we're explaining, as spirits, as people, as what we call aliens.
Well, true evil, I look at it this way, is a nature. It's your nature. It's not something you choose. Let's say a copperhead bites you on a trail. That snake is not evil. That's its nature to do that.
Right.
So some people's evil, I think, is their nature.
Mhm.
And they don't have a choice in it, in right or wrong. I think that's why a lot of people end up in mental institutions. Their innate nature is bad. It's not that they're
From our perspective,
people,
right?
it's their nature is to be bad. And you know what?
There's
You
a lot that's
understand what I'm saying?
subjective.
Yeah.
It seems subjective. Good and evil in lots of ways seems subjective. Although there are things that I think we can all agree on, like pedophilia or something outrageous like that is like definitely evil, right?
Yeah.
And we all think that, or most of us do. We're in that
Go to
herd mode and want to smash those people.
Yeah.
Yet these things persist, and it's kind of fascinating when you look at it overall and objectively. I don't think hauntings are necessarily evil or negative, and that is the common, even today, in 2022.
People always confuse.
People tend to think that, if you're haunted, you're dealing with something wrong or evil.
Right.
I mean, if you like, we investigated a building in December that no one died in, and we got tremendous amount of activity, tons of voices. But if the people that worked in that building, that was their life, their reason for existence, their prestige, their title was from working there, they would want to stick around. That may not be as good going to that tunnel with that light at the end as it is here, but they're not evil. They're just like, hey, I loved it here. That's why you never see haunted shacks. They're always haunted mansions.
Right.
I'm going to stay in this beautiful house and haunt because, hey, I love it here.
It's an easy choice.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is with negative entities, everybody wants to say, I would say 90% of the cases that come into the Warren Foundation start off with, I'm possessed, I need an exorcism.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where if you truly are possessed, you're not going to know it because the demon or whatever entity has fully taken over you and you have no clue you're possessed.
And you're not going to reach out for help.
Right.
That's
and it's one of those, usually it's a family member that reaches out for help saying, hey, my son or my husband's acting kind of strange. Can you come check it out? But it's, it's amazing how 100% of people want to jump to it's a demon immediately.
Yeah, the D word. The D word.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We
Hollywood.
Podcast series on the D word and talk to demonologists and a magician, a friend of ours, who works with demons as that's what he does, right? So, it's interesting to get those kind of insights. I find that fascinating that people do just jump to it, and I think it's media hype. That has driven them to that.
And it's thrilling and exciting. At least that's the way it seems to them. Until if a real demon got a hold of 90% of these people, they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also an attention thing. If they come to us and say it's a demon, we're the Warren Foundation, of course we're going to want to look into that because, those are the cases we deal with.
Right.
So do you have a filter to kind of like go through that, like what's real?
Yeah.
I know, Philip, I've looked at your paranormal team's
Oh, yes.
form that a person has to fill out, and I think it's great. I'm not putting it down in any way.
No.
Please believe me when I say this. I think it's good because somebody who's really interested in being investigated has to go through the trouble of detailing it.
Yes.
It's not just going to be like on a whim, or if they've had a couple of beers, they're like,
Exactly. I love all those questions.
That kind of thing.
The Warren Foundation's one is a lot more intense than my team's. If you can make it through our form and you fill it out thoroughly, then you're serious.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of them will just email us like, can I talk to somebody about such and such? It's like, fill out this form. We need information. It's like it's like throwing a puzzle in a floor and then trying to put the pieces together, and you don't have all the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they got to understand the process. We need we need to know everything.
Yeah, there's some very
Yes.
good details in there.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And-
Questions like drugs and alcohol, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
use in the house, which I wanted to ask you. I don't really want to go over this, but over what our talking point right now. But I was just wondering, what do you guys think about alcohol and being under the influence and some drugs?
In possession, perhaps.
Yes, attachments.
Do you believe in a softer possession? Things like what do we call that? Spirit rescue therapy.
Well, spirit rescue, you're helping a spirit that's
Mhm.
stuck and not crossing for some reason,
Hmm.
and they're wanting help. You can't. There are instances where you'll have a spirit that you need to get rid of, and there are more forceful ways to do it, like calling in, having your guides or your angels, whatever you believe in, bring in someone from their life that they respected or feared, like a father, a grandfather, and telling them they've got to come with them. There's no question, and you cross them that way. So spirit rescue is a little different than having a drunk person that's possessed.
Well,
Is that what you're?
it can go other ways too. People like Dr. Terrence Palmer, like I'm kind of a fan of some of his work. Edith Fior in the I don't know, I think it was the 90s, her book came out, Talking with the Dead, talks about people that are kind of holding spirits within them, and she, being a psychologist in that instance, would cross them over. Their behavior may have changed. They weren't completely possessed. It wasn't like a movie, but it could be things like maybe they stopped caring about school, or drank more, or acted in behaviors that were not normal for their typical psyche. And through maybe regression therapy, hypnotic techniques, they would go in and see there was some sort of a possession involved, but not a complete possession like we imagine Hollywood style.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And getting back to the alcohol and drugs,
Mhm.
it's I'm trying to figure out how to word this to be nice and not upset people. But just because because we get a lot of people who will admit to us, hey, yes, I do take, meth or heroin or whatever they take. And we try to encourage them to get help for that, because we can help them as much as we can. But if they're going to keep using tools such as alcohol and drugs to open themselves up to spirits, that we can help banish whatever spirits attached to them. But if they don't stop, they open themselves to get possessed again.
I
And
think
that
that's where
was
we're going with that, is that opening of self, and
right.
having their behaviors change because they are being somewhat possessed, just not necessarily in the Hollywood way.
Well, their state of mind of being under the influence of drugs and alcohol, that's their vibration is low.
Mhm.
And that's when the negative entities are going to go, this person's
Yummy.
this person's nice and juicy for the taking, because they're deep in whatever depression, anxiety, and then oppression begins.
Mhm.
That spirit, if it's negative on top of a person having problems, and it just weighs you down even more. So it's a layered thing. You got to work with the nasty spirit, and then you have to get the person to realize what they're doing to themselves is bringing that on.
Right. Yeah. It's like you got to deal with the underlying conditions, because the Maurice Theriault case that the Warrens worked on, and Chris can talk more about that on Saturday, they didn't deal with the underlying conditions, and he ended up getting possessed again.
Oh man.
And it's like doing a house cleansing. You can do all the work you can do, but unless the client is willing to do their part and change their way of thinking and habits and some other things they may be doing, it's not going to change their situation in their home.
Mhm.
I mean, we had a case where, we got him reading prayers. We did everything to cleanse the house, but yet he kept up that old activity of looking for things, his obsession with the paranormal and his house being haunted. He just kept on and kept on. So we had to walk away because he was not doing what he needed to do to solve the problem. He kept creating the problem.
Right.
All right. When you say terms like obsession and oppression, are you referring to levels of like a historic, say, exorcism, where that leads to, where there's an infestation and an oppression and eventually a possession, a full-on possession.
Well, there's obsession,
Mhm.
then oppression, and then possession and full possession. I think I'm not the demon person. I'm the love and light guy. But I think this can also relate to negative spirits
Mhm.
doing the same thing to a person. I mean, I've seen that happen with people focusing on negative spirits and wanting the scary stuff, and that's all, they get obsessed with it.
Mhm.
And then the next thing you know, they're in depression. They're making bad decisions. So it's a cycle. You know, like attracts like. So if you're going after that negativity, it's bound to turn you negative at some point. I mean, it's just makes
That's
sense.
like common sense, right? Yeah, I
Mhm.
totally agree with you. I'm sure we
kinda
both
do that.
do.
Yeah.
I think like attracts like is a stronger factor in all of this than people give it credence to, give credit to it, I guess. Better way to put that.
Yeah, I had knew someone several years ago that did a lot of ITC work, but he was constantly looking for the demons and the scary stuff, and I mean, obsessed with it and making the scary videos. And I told him at one point, I said, you know, you need to lighten up on this because, I mean, there's a bit of an obsession here, and I get it, it's thrilling, blah blah blah, but you're going down a rabbit hole that you may not like. And he did, and he ended up in a lot of trouble, like financially, with the family, homeless. You know, he's turned it around at this point, but you know, you got to be careful with what you attract.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
most
totally agree with you, and I've had those experiences. I think we both have. I've gone down some darker paths in life and dealt with some personal issues that where I was attracting negative things, and
Yeah,
sure as shit, it does, like attracts like, and next thing you know, your house is haunted in the way you didn't
Really didn't
intend,
want it,
and you're
yeah.
not happy about it.
yeah. That's
And it becomes a reality, and like, well, that's not cool.
same in mediumship about when if you have a lower vibration, all these spirits that are stuck and wandering around, they can see you, you can see them, and that's part of the question answering about developing. You have to develop and learn to how to raise yourself above that vibration,
Mhm.
so you're not dealing with that all the time.
Now, that's a thing that confused me a lot when I got more involved with paranormal circles. I kept hearing this term, raise your vibration. And while I might have a pretty good idea about how to do that now, our listeners may not. And what would you recommend that they do to raise that vibration? And what does it mean to you to say it? It's a commonly used phrase.
Heather, do you want to, for you, what does it mean? And I'll tell you how I do it.
For me, it means everything from making sure your house is clean, watch happy movies, watch comedies, play music and dance,
No horror
and
movies?
just no, not if you're trying to raise your vibration.
I really dig
That's-
horror movies.
Music is a good thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
music is
Most
definitely a good
definitely.
thing.
Doing what?
Yeah.
Hugging your dogs can
Mhm.
raise your vibration. I meditate, and there's wonderful guided meditations on YouTube about how to raise your vibrations, and they'll take you visually through, the white light and things like that, and you can do it that way.
Mhm.
I need quiet. I need my headphones on because my brain just has too much crap going on, and that helps me calm down enough to do it. But sitting outside on my deck in the summer in my favorite chair staring at the bird bath, that raises my vibration.
Most
And it almost
definitely.
sounds like grounding, like you're
Mhm.
letting go of the problems of the day,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, which is in a lot of guided meditations in the hemisync. They should be paying me. Gateway series that we're doing. Like
Diet
one of the
Coke
things you
champagne.
do is kind of like put all your worries and problems, into like a box, and you close that box off, and
Yeah, we have a
you
big
feel
box.
lighter like immediately. And I feel
As a paranormal investigator, you have to be able to communicate with both. You can't just have your vibration high all the time and miss out all the nasty spirits in the house causing the problems. You have to be able to tune into those too, and you have to learn how to bring it up, bring it down, to be able to cover your bases, so to speak.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
agree.
agree.
And further to mention, animals are helpful. I like that idea. I almost think that's almost their purpose of domesticated animals, is to kind of relieve a stress. The more stressed I am, the more my cats seem to want to pay attention to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it's amazing how they just come up
They
and
know
they're
your
just so
emotions.
unfazed. And yeah,
When I do mediumship
You're
classes
awesome.
online a lot, my dogs just come right in the room. I think they feel that energy. They, of the group, the Zoom group, we're all trying to raise our vibration and do mediumship together, and they come in here.
yeah, my cats blow up my ego. You're so amazing.
It's great.
So they do. They're cute, and they seem to have that purpose. I don't know what it is about animals. Dogs too, of course.
All they want is love, and that's all they want to give is love.
Yeah. And love is the thing that binds us all, through all of this stuff. I really do believe that. That it really comes down to love, and that is the real communication between people through this some sort of subconscious thing. I don't know. What do you guys think about the subconscious?
I think it plays a huge role in our lives.
Yeah.
Open question, but I think it plays into so many factors when we talk about things like magic and telepathy, Akashic records. How does somebody able to access the record of everything that ever happened? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that Akashic records that's over my head. I mean, that's too much like having to go to the library and do research. That is not happening. So, I'm not the one to ask about. I know someone that's an expert, and if they need a reading and want to go get their records, I know of a medium that does that, but that's too much like work for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's said that everything that ever happens is recorded somewhere, or perhaps it's already happened. Everything that's going to happen has happened, and everything that happened obviously has happened. And perhaps we can transcend the lines that we see through our biology and access those tools to use that Dewey Decimal System. And
well, they say the spirit world time's not linear. It's everywhere. That's why, like, if a psychic does a reading on a person, a live person, they're tapping into their soul. Their soul's timeline is not linear. It's what's happened, what's happened in the past. That's how they're able to say, well, in 2 weeks from now, you're going to, get a stomach bug, or, that's how they tap into that. That's my thoughts on how they do it. They're contacting the person's higher self, which that higher self is the soul, which has no linear time. Does that make any sense at all?
it does if you've had out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about astral projection and things of that nature, lucid dreaming. If you want to see what's behind your house, I use this example all the time. You don't have to walk around the house to see what's there. You just have to think it and you're there, right? So there's no sense of time. There's no work involved. If you want to see something in the past, it's readily available. You just have to tap into it.
Absolutely. Do you think spirits who are still here are scared to go to the light because they were so bad and mean? This was a question from before.
Yeah, I think some of them are afraid to be judged.
Absolutely.
Just because of how we're raised and how, organized religion says it's black and white. And a lot of people have that ingrained in them. And even in the afterlife, they fear that.
Their state of mind at the time of death can play a huge part on whether they head towards that light. I know a lot of mediums that say, when you're dead, you go to that light. They don't believe in the stuff that we do, which is kind of weird to me because, but I think it's if we have free will, and they say we have free will, then you can choose to head towards that light or not. So
now, you were talking about some of them, depending on how they pass away, like trauma is a huge thing. They stick around for a while. They don't understand. They are and can't believe they're not alive, or some of them don't even realize that they're not alive.
Oh, true. And they may be stuck in that for years and years and years, or they may realize, dang, this is not working for me. And they can go.
Right.
But
Right.
Suicide.
Or they're trying to figure out how they died and why they died, like who did
Right.
it, type of thing.
mhm.
True. Yes. Most definitely.
and
And get
certainly
angrier and angrier and angrier, and yeah.
And then that with the negative,
Mhm.
you know,
right, that coincides why you might see some negative spirits.
that and them swearing at us
Yeah, we do encounter that often enough.
a lot.
I love that though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all these people that talk about rogue radio waves or our EVPs, it's like, yeah, some of those words you're not hearing on the radio. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
For all those skeptics and debunkers and whoever. Yeah.
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 How do you explain these things working on different devices, like say an EVP versus a spirit box versus an application?
A good way. I have a code word that I ask spirits to repeat back to me from a spirit box. Because, if you're on an investigation and you want to talk to the spirits, your buddies that you talk to at home on your SB7 may go, oh, hey, he's on. And, I've said before, I need for anybody in the spirit world that knows me, that are friends, to back away. We are only here to communicate with what is in this location. And I have said, if you understand me, would you say my code word? And I've got a video of it. And my code word's pickle. I mean, that's not something you hear all the time. And I've got a clip, and you hear pickle, 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 pickle. And I say, thank you, thank you. And
There you go.
And you don't even say it out loud, which is what I wanted to ask you as well. You must get your name all the time. Your name's said to you, and you never tell them. So it's how do they know? And how do they know your code word? They pick our brain, they know what we're thinking.
That was one of our experience in the ITC collaboration, was the code word experiment, because we wanted to see what are they seeing and how do they relate it to other people in different locations.
That's excellent.
Yeah, we were actually investigating. We were investigating a location, and we weren't getting anything on the spirit box. So the lead investigator said, if you want us to leave this room, say one of our names. They said my name right away.
Did they?
So then we left, went to another part of the location. Same thing. Weren't getting anything. If you want us to leave, say one of our names. They said my name again. I'm like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Since you respected them, we usually say, well, can you say it again? Can you say it 5 times and then we'll leave?
Yeah.
We're terrible about doing that.
We are.
Sometimes make me toast, open the fridge.
Yeah. Dishes.
Yeah, do some dishes. That's the one we really want to master.
You really want us to leave, say it, and then make something knock off a shelf. We keep adding to it, but I'm happy with that.
Now, here's a good question for you. What do you think of the Philip, not you, Philip, the Philip experiment that took place in Toronto in 72, where they conducted a seance with a fictional ghost and got results.
In a laboratory,
in a laboratory environment. Yes.
Well, Heather's probably got her ideas, and I've got my own thoughts on it. So,
see, I'm sitting here thinking I thought it was in England.
That's the skull experiment.
That's it. I truly am a firm believer that you can manifest spirits, and that's what I believe. About 90% of our cases that we get is self-manifestation. And if it's almost like imprinting on the environment something that wasn't there, and now it's there, like a residual haunting would be.
Oh, I like that.
You think it causes something to fill the role that you're presenting?
Yep. Yes.
I think roles play a big role.
Yes,
if you will, in a lot of
the juxtaposition on that is there are spirits all around us looking to communicate. I mean, last week when we were on the show, I saw that with your visitor. They're everywhere. And what a great opportunity for one to jump in and have some fun at this experiment. Go, oh my God, look, I'll be Philip. I mean, it happens at seances all the time. A legitimate seance, these spirits pop in. And I also believe, like Heather, that we can manifest these things, but I also think they're looking for a fun time, some of these, and took the opportunity to jump in and could have created some of that.
Almost, they're almost one and the same. And Heather, when you say manifest, are you saying that we're using our own psychic energy to create the ghost, or we're attracting ghosts?
We're creating the ghost
We're creating it.
and the paranormal activity.
Sort of poltergeist effect of where they say that the teenagers really moving it with their own psychic energy. They're moving things in their room.
Psychokinesis, telepathy.
Interesting.
All those psi things. But I don't know. I like the thought of a party spirit just jumping in there and having a good time with those people.
And that's excellent. That's fairly interesting. Philip, we talked about ITC quite a bit last week. And for our audience members who didn't see that, and I recommend you go and dig in the archives of the Paranormal United Network and find that interview. But we were talking a lot about, or at least a little bit about Annabella Cardoso and some other folks that are working with direct voice response.
Yeah, my friend Ron Iacovetti does that. He works with direct radio voice, which takes a lot of patience and dedication and time, which I don't have patience. That's this life's lesson, is to learn patience, and I'm failing miserably. But yeah, direct voices, you set it on a station with no interference, and you wait for the voices to come through. I mean, but you need to talk to them. They need to get to know you and your intentions before they're just going to start rambling and talking to you. You know, they're not going to waste their time on someone that's not sincere, or because you're not looking for the ghosts and the spooks and stuff with this type of ITC. You're looking for higher level, higher vibrational communication from the other side.
I understand. Yeah.
I think this is fascinating because I think it means that you're spending a lot of time with the box.
Yeah.
And the more time you spend with the box, the more results you tend to have, and to have
Absolutely.
it on a stationary channel. And that's what we're kind of referring to. And I might have got the acronym wrong, but basically you have the station, just one station, maybe it's shortwave, like in Annabella's example.
Well,
but
ours was a state emergency station. Is it Portugal, I think, or Spain?
Yeah, she's in Spain, but she's Portuguese.
Yeah,
so
that's
they
right.
speak to her in Portuguese, and
that
she
station
has
she tunes
very
into
long
is the
conversation.
state. Yeah, there's no interference in that station at all. There's no radio. It's like for the emergencies.
Yeah, it's to rule out, any kind of false positive.
Exactly.
And it's 20 years of work with a radio, right?
But you have to create a relationship with the spirit world in order to get this to happen. Years ago, when I started in ITC at home, I started in my dining room and I set everything up. And for 3 weeks, every night, I would sit, 15, 30 minutes, and I would talk to, and I would say, my name's Philip. I come to you in love and friendship. I have the highest respect. I'm here to learn, communicate. Nothing happened for 3.5 weeks. All of a sudden, it happened, and they started talking to me. I had one named Albert that would come and talk to me. I had an Eric that would always come and say, I love you. I've had them talk to the dogs. They said, hey, doggies. Once they know your heart, I believe, you're good.
It's a matter of building a relationship. And you're dealing with sort of, do you think those were guides of yours, or
I don't think they're guys. I think they're just people on the other side, like, oh, look, let's talk. Yeah. They were all hot. Well, in the very beginning, I got one that said, I'm Zozo. And I was like, oh, please. I said, go away. I said, first of all, that's not even a real demon. So go away. And then I had one say, you're a loser. And I was like, well, if I'm a loser, how am I able to talk to you? And then, that one went away. And so you will get tested. And once they realize you're not playing that game, you don't get it anymore, except on an investigation where there's something nasty, you'll get it, which is different. And I love that.
Is that also your experience, Heather? How do you feel about the ITC stuff? And what is, when you're in an investigation, what are your favorite tools?
I like the non-tech tools, even though I have used a spirit box, but I mostly use that for events, because when you have guests that come to an event, they don't have the time to wait for you to go home and analyze the evidence. They want to have results right then and there.
Mhm.
And we've used it there. We've also used it in the bottom of an abandoned mine that we were investigating. So of course we're not getting any radio interference down there. So we've used it there. But other than that, I prefer non-tech tools. I use a fidget spinner, pendulums,
That's
dowsing rods.
The fidget spinner,
Yeah,
that's
I
a
love that.
fascinating one.
Yep.
So,
we combine some things. We use
how do
styrofoam
you-
cups. We use strings of bells that we hang on things. I like to combine things. We thought we got an EVP when I was hanging the bells of someone saying jingle bells, but it turned out to be Kelly. So we had to debunk. It's like, oh my God, somebody's singing jingle bells. It's like, oh, it was Kelly.
Getting back to the fidget spinner, how do you
Yeah.
use that as on an investigation? How do you use as a yes/no type tool, or how does that?
Pretty much, more or less, if you're here, spin it. What we do is we find a flat surface, and sometimes what we'll do is we'll prop it up on a flat rock.
Okay.
And we make sure it spins freely. We make sure there's no wind, even though it would take a heavy wind to move a fidget spinner. And once we've ensured that it's flat, because we sometimes will bring a level to make sure it's a flat surface. And we just say, hey, this is how you use it. We show them how to spin it, and then we stop it. We all back away, and we're like, if you're here with us and you want to communicate, give it a spin. And we've actually had it spin on us a couple times.
Yeah, that's great. That is a cool modern day example.
Like,
And a compass is one of the easiest pieces of equipment to use, because the geomagnetic field changes, is the theory, when a ghost manifests, and that compass is going to react to the magnetic field changing. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. Like Heather says, you can use these things, even just a good compass, or get 3 compasses out, label them 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C, and say, can you affect number 2, or can you affect number 1? I mean, you can't get better than that if they do it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just like, what are the odds, right? I totally agree with that, and I think we talked about compasses a little bit last week. I remember reading about them, and I think it was Yankee Ghost by Hans Holzer, like when I was a kid. I wish I still had the book, because it's probably collectible now. Cat balls. I know.
Yeah.
I had a comment about cat balls. How do you guys feel about the cat balls? Which is a funny thing to say out loud,
right?
I personally think any motion censored toy works. Another toy that I haven't used, but I've heard works great, is if you it's a little hamster or one of the toy parrots that repeats what you say. And if a spirit's in the area and talks, the hamster will start talking.
Ooh,
Oh,
I kind of like that.
I like that. Yeah.
I like that. We keep a cat ball on the back shelves behind us, and we've had activity. It's not on tonight, but it's been active in different shows, and it's kind of funny how that works. We've had our camera pan a bit too. Yeah. That seems to have died down somewhat, but yeah, it was kind of a thing.
And we don't obsess on it.
Right. We don't, because
we don't.
The more we obsess, the more we seem to manifest it, right?
Exactly.
Or at least sound an alarm.
Well,
for somebody to come in and fill that role,
right? Because we're like Philip was saying, we're like beacons. I think personally that they know that who can speak to them, and who's skeptical and doesn't want to. So,
but if you want to up your game with the cat balls, like I said, get 3 of them. We've started something 2 investigations ago. I have printed off 5 cards with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then each one of them has a different shape: a triangle, a cross, a square, a circle, and then each one of those are a different color. So if they're colorblind, they can read the number. If they can't read the numbers, they can read the shape that's on the card. And then we'll set pieces of equipment on each card. So if you can point and say, can you make the device on the red square number 4 react for us? So do that with your cat balls. I mean, if you want irrefutable evidence, I mean, we're still working on that, but it's a way to up your game in the paranormal world. And it's like the flashlights, when people lay down 5 flashlights and say, can you turn a flashlight on? Well, one of them's going to turn on probably because that's just the way they work because of the heat transference. But if you have some kind of control set up with these experiments, is it?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
We've done investigations where we had multiple cat balls set up, and
Mhm.
we're asking exactly what you're saying, and I think that's good advice for people to have multiples of these devices, especially where they're fairly inexpensive.
Sure.
I don't think you should pay more than $5.
Yeah, don't buy the paranormal balls. Get a cat ball from PetSmart.
Yeah. Or
Because-
Walmart. I think
Yeah, because they will double. If you put
Amazon
paranormal on it, it's going up 5 times.
Exactly. Yeah. All you need is a little tiny, like Heather said, even a fidget spinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's
It doesn't
great.
light up,
Simple
but-
tools, because anything can work.
You can get one.
Even some of the
But
free.
Harry Price, one of our forefathers, and look what his toolkit was. It's fascinating. The bowls of liquid mercury to look for motion. Now we have motion geophones and all that for motion, but they didn't have all that back in the day in the 20s.
Right. Yeah,
And we did a presentation on that, Heather. She did a non-tech tools presentation on Ghost Ed, but you can go to our page and look through the old videos and see it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm actually re-airing it on my podcast next week as well.
Good.
Oh, great.
Great. How do people find that, Heather?
It's called Exploring the Paranormal Vodcast, and it airs on Pun TV as well and on my Facebook page.
Excellent. Yeah. So, what is the schedule for Ghost Education 101?
She's got it.
I can pull it up, but it's every other Wednesday, and we'll be live next Wednesday. So it's every other Wednesday after next Wednesday.
And that is, of course, on the Paranormal United Network, where you may be watching this now. In the archives, if you haven't watched Ghost Education 101, I highly recommend it.
And I know next week,
people out there have seen it.
I know next week Philip's doing a presentation on Paranormal 101.
Yeah, if you've got any friends that are just interested in the paranormal, this is like the basics from beginning to end and going through an investigation and types of hauntings and what is paranormal, what is the paranormal. So it's not for the old timers so much, but it's a refresher though.
Sure, absolutely. Some comments out here. Stephanie says you'd be amazed at the EVPs you can catch on your phone, very low tech, and with everyone has a cell phone.
Yeah.
Which was followed by a comment from Michelle Penick, who says I catch a lot of EVPs on my phone, and I think you do. You don't need to spend a lot of money to get involved with this. I think it's more the intent than anything. Would you agree?
But just have your phone on airplane mode.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it, yes, is about intent, more so than the price of the tool.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But actually, getting back to the show schedule real quick, we do have, after that, February 16th, hosting paranormal events. March 2nd, paranormal research versus paranormal tourism. Then a look inside Nevada's ghost towns, and that's going to be based off the book I have coming out this summer. And then one of our educators is hosting a presentation on unsolved murder cases on March 30th.
Excellent. Sounds like a good lineup.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to talking to Chris McKinnell on Saturday, as well as you, Heather, about the Warren files and digging into that.
Yes, most definitely.
Excuse me, I need a drink of water there. So I totally agree. And I'm sorry, I think my microphone is a little crooked here. With the price of the tools is not that important, but I do like really good recorders. How do you feel about recorders and the quality of recorders? I mean, I know you can get great stuff, and I have gotten good stuff on a cell phone, but do you feel like that's like the first thing you want to upgrade, or would you go to something like a EMF meter?
You want to answer about recorders, and I'll tell my experience.
Yeah. I just have simple. They're $29.99. I think they're Simpo or Ciampo, and they have the 3 mics at the top, the 1 bar, and then the 2 side mics. Very inexpensive, but very durable. And I've captured many EVPs on it, including music in a room where there was like no way that music could be playing, which I thought was neat. and it's my go-to recorder. I bought it when I was on a limited budget, and I've actually bought more.
And what was the name of that company again? Because there are a lot of
think
companies
it's
on Amazon.
right. It's
and you start to look at the recordings.
Sampu, I think. I'm looking it up real quick. Yeah, SAIMPU.
Okay, very good. I've wondered about some of those. We've had different levels of recorders. Like we have this Olympus here, which was not that great a recorder. It's not that we didn't capture good stuff on it, but I didn't like it didn't record in a wave format. That was kind of a pain. There were certain things about it I didn't like. The quality of the recordings is not as good compared to say, like the Tascam, which sounds like your product that you're just mentioning is more similar with the side mics.
Yep.
Probably
and you just want to make sure that you get something with an output for a USB port, because I've known many investigators they've like so excited they got a new digital voice recorder. We go to the investigation, they do all these recordings, they go home to download it, and there's no output.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So,
I hope some of that has gotten better over time. Because I still have a lot of the recorders we bought a while ago, like this Tascam. They still make this as a DR5, but it's like $100. So if you can find something that is very comparable for $30, oh, isn't that great? Especially if you're working with a team of people, you can get more recorders or put them in different rooms. Greg Koss says, I'm looking at a Zoom right now. Which Zoom are you looking at, Greg? A lot of people.
H1N, is that the name of it? That's a great one to have, and it's like what, $99, $100 and something dollars. That's a good one that a lot of people have.
The 6, is that the one that does the 360? They have one that you could put like in the center of a room, and it has mics going around it, so it kind of captures everything in that room from all directions. But
if you've ever noticed EVPs, they sound close to the mic. They don't sound like they're coming from the other room, because you can, we'll get an EVP. You can hear us in another room, but that voice sounds like it's up at the mic.
Right.
So do you need a 360?
Right. If they want to communicate, they will. And we were talking about that last week, where they can, our belief is that they can use like even your eardrums and tell you something. And this way, maybe clairaudience works, where your eardrum vibrates. You hear the word, or you hear the words. Like we've had that instance we talked about last week where we both heard something and it was unexplainable because it didn't come up on the recorders. Very fascinating, right? So I don't know that you need the best mic in the world. You can have two recorders side by side and have one record something and the other not. So it's like they can be selective. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yep.
It's fascinating how that works, right?
Yeah, it's like they can pick and choose who they talk to as far as clairaudience.
Yes,
they can pick where they direct their thoughts or their imprints.
Most definitely. Real quick, Joshua Dixon wants to know why to put the phone on airplane mode when you're doing when you're recording.
It's just a good habit to get in, and you're not going to get any other signals coming in that someone could say it's a rogue radio wave, phone signal, something like that. Some kind of bleed through. So just turn it on airplane mode. I mean, if you're using any other type of paranormal equipment too, you always want it on airplane mode.
Yeah, and you don't want to get a call in the middle of the investigation either.
No. That's happened.
Right. Texting. I've seen texting set off things like K2 meters.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like everybody's like trying to do a yes/no thing. Seemed to be happening, and then we figured out, somebody didn't have their phone
or
on.
a car fob in your pocket, and you keep bumping it. That signal will react to a K2 and other equipment. So you want to make sure your key fobs, put your car keys somewhere else away from your equipment.
I would also throw out that applications can use the GPS in your phone and your location. And if you're in a place like, say, Lizzie Borden's, and you're getting words like axe back through the application, there might be a reason why.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are kind of built to be spooky.
And they listen to you.
Mhm.
And something we touched on
Yeah.
last week was applications. And what applications do you guys like, or do you not like applications?
I don't use them on my phone at all when it comes to paranormal investigating.
For ITC apps, I would not use anything with full programmed words, because I think ITC apps can work. Because if a spirit wants to communicate, it's going to try any way it can or use anything it can to communicate with you. I like EchoVox, is a great ITC app, and it's $20. It's on iOS and Android. I've used it quite often, and there's a video that explains the mathematical statistics of, because of the combinations that you can create with this app, of the speeds and choosing the sound banks, which are little bits of, it's just little bits of sound. It's not words. To get a sentence out of that is mathematically impossible, basically.
Like the syllables, there's a name for that, like the tones that you make. It's similar to the Spiritcom that we discussed, which was built on like 20 tones or something of the male voice going, oh.
And the one that I did with Jonathan Garraway, I came up with the idea of the app, and he like built the app, because that's a whole different, it's 12 foreign language phonetics. There are no words. It's just the phonetics from 12 different languages. And it's in there's 4 banks, 3 languages in each, and you can choose them, fast, slow. And I did it, and it's free, because a lot of people can't afford a spirit box. They can't afford $20 for an EchoVox. This is something I wanted to give back, and it takes a lot to get used to it and hear it, but I've gotten a full sentences out of it when I was beta testing it. I always close down an IT session by saying, thank you for coming if you came, but you must go back to where you were. You cannot stay here in my space. And I always say, do you understand that? And with the app I did, I got, yes, we all understand here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Stephanie's asking what the name of that app was again.
Oh, the ITC Collaboration Pro, and it's only on Android. We could not do it on iOS because it was too hard and too money. I didn't want to charge. I didn't want to have to charge for it.
Right. It's hard to do free iOS apps.
Yeah.
There is an ESP app I like a lot.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Yeah, and I'll give them a plug because we know the developer is a friend of ours. And this is ESP Trainer. And I'll put that up there. And you have that kind of Simon-like box. If you do have an iPhone, this is free. I think there's an Android version as well. And you're basically testing your ESP as to which box has the picture.
Oh, that's okay.
And you can just kind of go on. Yeah.
Remote view,
I'm getting it wrong.
Quickly.
And there is a remote, one that's even more remote viewing centric called Stargate as ESP. Russell Targ worked on that, if you're familiar with him as well, which is a pretty cool thing. It's neat. I think the apps do work. I think anything can work. I think it is just about that intent and comfort. I forget what that app was you used to use when we first started out. We got some great stuff on it, like amazing. And I had some bizarre kind of name, but
it worked really well.
When it was working, the difference was amazing. You could tell.
Yeah.
I've read that a spirit can use the frequency from the vibration of the sound of your refrigerator humming.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If there's a vibration there that they can manipulate, that they can create words through it.
I had a theory that all EVPs came from some other noise, and I believe this, but we had a guest who told us that he heard of an experiment where EVPs were actually recorded in a vacuum. And I found that fascinating because I think when you get that, there's some other noise that it's utilizing. It's almost like a painter's palette. And we've heard bird chirps get worked into words.
Yeah.
And, you go down apophenia row with it, you're like, am I really hearing this? But it starts to fill out a complete sentence. And it's like, wow, they can use just about anything that's available, like a refrigerator, like you just mentioned.
Or fish tank. That's what
Yes, right. Water scrying.
Yes.
That was one of the things we
Yes.
wanted to talk about. It was
Oh,
both in the bio, and I think we touched on it last week. Could you tell us about water scrying?
It's a very old ritual of divination, of connecting with the spirit world. You can there's different types of scrying. Looking into a crystal ball is one that everybody knows, and you're looking for images. Depends on what you're asking for. I do it with water. There's smoke scrying, there's cloud scrying, there's black mirror scrying, which is very interesting. But I do it with water. And I use different bowls of water. I use a black bowl, silver bowls, and I've moved to using jars of water. That's where I've been getting tons of images lately.
Interesting.
Like this, it's painted on one side.
Okay.
And then I use different colored lights a lot of times, and I'll put the light on the bottom. I'll focus my camera, video camera, and then I will ask for my spirit guides, any of my helpers on the other side, to just send me some nice uplifting message images. So you can ask for guidance, you can ask for advice, and then however you want to interpret the image is up to you. But I just found it. I experimented with it a couple years ago and got some really cool pictures, and I got hooked. Like this is
okay. Yeah.
That's in a silver bowl.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that looks like almost a photograph of a person.
Yeah, they're can you see?
Wow.
Wow.
That's
So
really
this
cool.
water is not in motion; it's just sitting in the jar.
Yeah, if you do it in the bowl, I use my finger because I think the energy from my body helps
Okay.
invoke the images, and I just swirl the water around gently. You don't want it just like crazy, like in a washing machine. You just want to gently move the water back and forth, and I video it and then go through it frame by frame and look for the pictures.
Frame by frame, a bit like the video ITC.
Yeah, and I'll use different colored lights. Experiment with. I'll do it in sunlight. I'm trying to find one that'll show up well on here.
Oh, that's cool. I see a face.
Yeah, and I get monkeys a lot of times, animals, dogs.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
Look at that.
really cool.
Yeah. That's the cover of this book, but this is
Reflections, and that's one of your books, and you have a few books I mentioned in your bio.
Yeah, that's the proof copy. That's not on there.
This is
the other one.
All right, the artful.
Anybody can do this. Just set your intention, ask them to come visit you and show themselves in the water, and give it a try.
That's neat. We have to try that.
I like that.
I use that's a stained glass bulb. I'll put that over the water. Different lights on the water.
Oh,
very cool.
That's neat.
It's a fun little thing to do.
Yeah.
Where
some of my they're beautiful on canvas, printed on canvas. I had the Spirit Art Gallery in Lilydale has mine. They had a show this past fall with a bunch of mine on canvas. And she's going to do it again this coming spring.
It's really.
Where can people find your books?
Amazon. And if you've got Kindle, if you got the Kindle subscription thing, I don't know what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
It's included. You can look at it for free on that.
Kindle Unlimited, I think that's called.
Yeah, you can look at it for free.
Lots of cool stuff on there.
Yeah. And this is a woman holding a baby.
Oh yeah.
The baby. It's hard to see, but there's a face on the baby here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I see distinct profiles in there and shapes.
Get a lot of profiles.
Me, look at that.
Oh,
yeah, look at that. Wow.
Wow.
That black bowl is actually my crock pot. So you don't need anything expensive to do this.
You can get a
Wow.
pot roast and some kind of paranormal data.
There you
at
go.
That's right.
one
Pot roast was
fell
last
motion.
week. Mhm.
Stephanie asks, can anything negative come through the scrying?
You got to set your intention, have your vibration high. I mean, it's just like when you invite anything in, you have to invite the right things in. I'm always looking for inspiration, something uplifting. If you want demons to come through, I'm sure they will, but it's not something I'm asking for.
Do you have any kind of accidental issues where something negative comes through and you weren't?
I get some things that I truly think are alien. I mean, because it's just like bad is not human. I don't ever look at one of my images, think, oh, that's a demon or anything. Now I have looked at them and go, that's an elemental. That's probably an alien. So I think they communicate with us too.
Yeah, where do you guys, both of you, stand on that with a UFO, UAP phenomena, aliens, alien abductions versus the paranormal?
Yeah, I feel, of course, aliens is part of the paranormal field. It kind of gets lumped in with it because it's something that we still don't have answers for. And being that I lived 2 hours outside of Area 51 for the past 7 years before moving back to Florida, it's truly a phenomenon. And we actually investigated a museum several times. It was a mine museum where I lived just outside of Vegas. And they had a rail car that was used in Area 51. We would get a lot of EMF readings off of that. I actually would see a little boy playing around it, and a lot of EVPs as well on that location. So is it aliens that we're dealing with? I'm not sure, but I truly do believe that they perfectly fit with the paranormal because we're still trying to find answers and we don't have those answers.
I think a lot of our technology has come from those crash spacecrafts. When you think the advancement in technology since like 1970 to now, when it's like, how did we advance that much in that short amount of time? I mean, we're smart.
We ask that question all the time.
It's one of the arguments for simulation theory, right? That, if we can progress that quickly, that fast, our chips getting that much faster in such a short span of time, where would we be in 100 years?
Right.
That's why I want to stay here after I die and just watch. Because it's like, look what they can do now.
Right. That's why we're sticking around. We need to stay.
Greg asked aliens.
Go ahead.
I think that's a good talking point.
Yes.
Everybody talks about demons, but not enough about angels sometimes, because they tend to be looking for things that are spooky. There might be good forces out there that aren't necessarily human.
Totally.
Right. And there are some theories out there too that the spirits we do see and interact with are alien, and they're just coming to us in the forms of relatives or people we know to make us comfortable.
Right. Like they're reading it from your consciousness.
Yeah.
They can see your history, your Akashic record, if you will, and they're presenting themselves. I mean, I've heard this also about spirits, right? They might be able to present evidence to you that makes sense, and you go, oh my god, this must be real, but they really took it from you to begin with.
Right.
I mean, the people that claim to have been abducted have always say that they were communicated with through telepathy. They didn't talk. It was all in their head. So right, which sounds like mediumship. Exactly.
Sure. And a lot of them walk away from the abduction phenomena having enhanced psychic skills, be it lucid dreaming, telepathy, or whatever it is, clairaudience. That's a known thing, and it's been reported, through polling.
Yep.
So, it's fascinating. I think there are some just very distinct tie-ins with the abduction phenomena and the paranormal.
I wouldn't mind getting abducted if they didn't I hear that probing is quite painful. Let's keep the probing away from this. Just
sometimes
take me for a spin through the universe.
Yeah.
Sometimes they want a second turn on that. So I don't know.
We don't know what they're doing. We're trying to figure out cattle. What are their obsession with cattle? Cattle.
Yeah, and the
handling.
cattle mutilations, right?
Mhm.
It's
Why
mostly cattle.
cows?
But he
They're
has
learning anatomy. I mean, we just put a pig heart in a man, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe they're doing something that we don't know about yet. That
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Greenhouse
they can use a
gases
cow
supposed to
organ
be
in their
come from
bodies.
for the most part.
Yeah.
They say the biggest part of our greenhouse problem and climate change might be the cows and overpopulation, more so than even things like factories and cars. So maybe they're working on genetically altering the cows, like they perhaps
Maybe
altered the
us
monkeys, and here we are today.
in an
We need to eat more hamburger. That's what it's moral story. I'm sorry for you vegans, and I love animals, but I love me a hamburger now.
Yeah, I know. We were a vegan for like one hot minute.
Yeah. That was one of the most hardest things we could do was do that. I was terrible.
Nope.
It was like 5 days or something we went. I was like, I can't do this anymore. My body's craving it, and that's sad. But just real quick, Joshua Dixon asked for us viewers, can you explain what an elemental is?
Great question.
Heather.
Basically, it's really hard to explain.
It is.
Think
about it too.
In my beliefs and my understanding is it follows with I want to say tiny is what comes to mind. Little tiny creatures such as fairies and just almost like cryptozoology, but on a smaller level is how I view that. Almost butterfly like is from what I've seen and from what I've experienced. It's just kind of, you're not looking at, like I said, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but it's, things when you think of fairies and fairy dust and elves and stuff like that.
Gnomes.
All right. And fairies can be serious business. I mean, we've talked to people about fairies on a pretty serious level as far as things like how they're treated in Ireland and routing roads around fairy inhabitation places. I forget the name for that, but the mounds, that's what it is.
Yep.
Fairy mounds. And working roads around them because they don't want to disturb them up into modern day.
Right. And then you also have the Gnomes of Norway.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They've
Can you see that face?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can. And
I think that's an elemental because I did this one outside. This is the sky, the blue. This was the coloring from the trees overhead, and it used it to turn into that.
Wow.
That is really cool.
That is wicked cool.
Yeah. And it looks like almost like some kind of
To
symbol.
me, I think that's an elemental.
It seems like it is, being that it's outside and it looks like that. Most definitely it's like our perception of it, but
right. You often talk about the little man you see in this
honestly,
running around this
there
house.
is
a little man.
A little man.
A little man.
That's what I call him. And he let himself be shown to me once. And my feeling is that, I know you guys are going to think I'm batshit crazy, but I'm not. My feeling is that he needs something.
No, we're crazy.
Yeah.
We all are. But he needs something. He's looking for something and he needs something. So I just talk to him and say, hey, if you need something, let me know. I'll get it for you.
Yeah.
And he laughs all the time. I'm like, no, this is serious stuff here.
Right.
You know?
They come out of the shower and she goes, oh, there goes the little man.
He goes, the little man. He plays with the air conditioner and stuff. He really does.
Yeah. Yeah. We do have a lot of unexplained activity.
Yeah.
But I think that might be part of all of this. And the more you get involved, it's like what we were mentioning about Annabella Cadorso and the shortwave radio on one channel. Like she's got 20 years of plus of like working with this radio.
Yeah.
And like if you put that much time in, something is going to be attracted to it, right? So if you're doing investigations a lot, you're on a really robust team like yourself, Philip, where you're going out, you're doing these kind of residential investigations, you're going to draw things that just seem to stay with you.
Yes.
Aren't necessarily negative, and we want to avoid the negative. But you're going to, I'm sure you have activity in your house. Like, for instance, that dog behind you. I believe his name is Paul.
I couldn't wait to get to this. His name's Paul. Yeah.
Is that right? That's Paul.
I've gotten shadow figures. I used to have people over and do ITC seances in my dining room, and we'd set up cameras, and we would get shadow figures going by. So they'd come and visit. So yeah, you can have spirits in your house. I mean, I've had them bang on walls when I've come home from investigations, and I guess I didn't say, "Don't follow me home."
Yeah.
They follow me home, and and I'll just say, "You got to go. You cannot be in here. Go." And they do after about 3 days. I mean, it doesn't bother me.
About 3 days.
But Paul, several years ago, this client of mine, one of my hair salon clients, texted me out of the blue, and she says, "I'm at this antique store and so. It was like well over an hour from here." And she said, "I saw this doll, and I don't know why, but I thought of you immediately when I saw it." And I said, "Well, there's no coincidences." And she sent me the picture, and I was like, "I got to have that doll. I'm not into dolls. I don't have dolls. When I saw that one, I was like, where is it? How much is it? Tell them to put a sold sign on it, and I'm coming to get it." And I called a friend of mine, and I said, "You up for a little road trip?" I said, "I want to go buy a doll." And he's like, "Oh God." So I got a container, put black salt in, I put some sea salt and some black tourmaline, because I didn't know what the heck was, attached to it, but I knew something was there. So drove all the way, and I saw it, and I don't know, it was like love at first sight, and people think that's the ugliest thing they've ever seen, and to me it was just beautiful. And the sales people said, "Thank God this thing's getting out here, it scares the crap out of us." And I was like, it's beautiful. So anyway, I wasn't sure if there was anything to it or not, but I knew this attraction was like too strong for there not to be something there. I mean, I wasn't picking up on a who or what or when. So brought it home, left it in the salt for a while to make sure, it wasn't Annabelle. So, last thing I want to do is, have everybody car crash. So
Right.
I took it out and I set it down, and I did a spirit box session live streamed it. Paul, it was his sister's doll. He's 8 years old. His sister's name was Gabby. They came from England. I don't know how that England attached to that doll. I don't understand the connection. You can go on. He has a Facebook page, Paul the Haunted Doll, and there's a lot of old videos. Scroll all the way down, and you can see some of the things he's done. Now,
cool.
I have told him to go be with his mother, because he's mentioned his mother before, and I have said, we're going to get EVPs because of the train.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Train kept rolling.
That's on my end.
I'll let the things down. But I have said, you do not have to stay here, honey. You can go if you go be with your mother. I've called for angels to come get him. So I don't think he's here anymore, to be honest. But he has come back and forth a few times. But I've got him wired up now that if he shows up, he can do that.
Oh, that's cool. And I wanted to ask you about that, because you mentioned that he was wired up before the show. And is he wired up with like a REM kind of static electricity detector or
Paratronics? Alan makes like a REM pod type device, but you can plug a wire into it and connect it to trigger objects.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Or you can attach the antenna and use it as a regular REM pod. So yeah, it's wire wrapped around him that's connected to the REM pod, but not the original REM pod. It's the Paratronics version.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I've seen Paratronics out there. But
he makes really good equipment for like a third of what the name brand stuff costs, and it's just as nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, but to be honest, I haven't felt him here in a long time. The dogs don't bark at him anymore. They would like stand and bark at the room. I'm like, it's all right. He's not going to bother you kids.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of on the same page with that, where a haunted object is not haunted 24/7 necessarily, like a Chucky doll waiting to come to life.
Right.
but it can be inhabited by a consciousness at some point.
Oh,
At
sure.
times, yeah, because we're kind of made of the same stuff, right?
Absolutely.
That's,
I think
that's
he
question.
really loved his sister, and when she was gone, we don't know what happened to her, but he attached himself to that doll to be close to the sister. But like I said, I've said, please, you do not have to stay here. You're not trapped to this doll. You can go be with your sister. You can go be with your mother, because he had meant the mother came up in some of the spirit box sessions. But whether it's my imagination or I know he's lit up a lot of equipment before for no reason.
Yeah, I'm sure he exists.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you, Liz Mills, for the stars. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes.
But he's got some really cool pictures on his Facebook page. He's got a big following too, which is kind of funny.
Oh, we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
It's Paul the Haunted Doll on Facebook.
Yeah.
Excellent. Heather, what's coming up for you?
That man's crazy.
No, not
coming down the pike? I know Philip is on the Georgia Paranormal team. What are you up to? What is your day-to-day like?
It's like, what am I not up to lately?
Oh my God.
I know you're like a plethora of. I can't imagine your day when it starts, when it ends. It's
and on top of that, I do freelance writing, so
Oh,
I'm sending stuff all the time. Can you look at this? Can you look at this? And I'm like, oh, she's too busy.
I have a backlog of stuff I have to look at for Philip. But I do have actually, my book is coming out hopefully this summer. I have to hand it over to the publisher this week or early next week. It's Ghosts of Southern Nevada Ghost Towns. And it's basically a book format of what we did for Real Haunts Ghost Towns, the documentary that came out last year.
Mm-hmm. And it's on Tubi. You can watch it if you got.
Tubi's got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
If you're out there, you got like Roku. You got Tubi already.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And with that, it's my paranormal team. It's my husband and my son. We all went out to different ghost towns and locations throughout Southern Nevada filming. And then what didn't make it in the documentary is going to be in Real Haunts 3. Supposed to be out last Halloween, but we're still waiting for a release date. I think there was some tech issues. I'm not 100% sure what happened with that.
Probably COVID.
But other than that, thank you, Michelle. I actually need to update my bio too, because when you were talking recently, Chris has put me in charge of marketing for the Warren Legacy Foundation. And so as soon as we find a regional director to take my spot, I will be stepping down as regional director of the Northeast and focusing on marketing for we're planning events. We're going to start teaching classes on Teachable. We have actually a mini Paracon that we're going to host. And more information on that's going to be coming out soon because we're partnering with a production company to make all that happen. Chris and I are writing several books. And then, of course, you guys can... Several. Well, he started talking, and I'm like, this is more than one book can handle.
I'm reading like 6 books right now.
Yeah,
I can't get any of them completed, but I pick up whichever one is closest to me at any given time, and I start reading it.
And that's how it is with the writing. It's like 1 week we'll be talking about what's going to be in this book. The next week we'll be talking about what's going to be in this book. So hopefully one of these days we'll have them all done. But I do co-host with Philip, Ghost Education 101. And then I just started hosting Exploring the Paranormal, which is my podcast or vodcast that's prior to Ghost Education 101. And then on opposite weeks, I co-host with Chris McKinnell, The Warren Files.
Awesome.
That's great.
Awesome.
Just a lot, but it's great.
It's
I don't know
good
how you find time for everything.
Good to be busy like that and so involved. And this has been great. This has been great talking to you guys. I look forward to Saturday, Heather, with Chris and Philip. Once again, a pleasure to talk to, and I love talking ITC with you.
Yes.
Can I just say one thing before we go, though?
Sure.
We lost a really good paranormal family member this week. Passed away yesterday. Robert Honeycutt. A lot of people know him as Bob from Macon, Georgia. Send love and best wishes to his family. He was a great guy.
thank you. We're gonna
Thank you.
everybody, please, send some
It is tough times. It is tough times.
healing and
I think on Saturday we may do a little bit of a guided meditation, kind of a thought experiment, on the introduction to that show, because it just seems like anytime I open up social media now, there's somebody new sick, somebody new has passed.
Mhm.
We have people close to us as well that are going through some tough times, and
yeah.
these are strange times.
They are.
They are. It's not
strange.
always COVID. It's a lot of things. I don't know if it's age. I don't know, but I'm sorry to hear about your friend.
Yes.
So,
Very sorry.
but thank you for giving him some time here.
Sure.
It was great talking to you guys.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
This
You
was
guys
fun
have to come
again.
back because there's so much more we wanted to ask you.
Oh, we can keep going.
Yeah.
No, Heather's like, get me out. I got things to do. I got a book to write.
Oh, yeah. Don't even ask where I'm at on that.
It's been wonderful having you on, and like we said, thank you so much again.
Thank you
And-
for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I'm gonna look for your books, Phil. They're very
Yes,
cool
that's
photography.
So
I don't think we talked about that enough last week. That looks great.
Mhm.
I want to look into that some more. And again, Heather, looking forward to Saturday. So
yes.
Okay.
so thank you guys. Thank you everybody in the audience. Greg, Liz, Michelle, Joshua, all you guys. You know you are. Thank you for being out there and talking to us, because without you we wouldn't have a show.
That's right.
We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys Saturday. Have a
Bye.
great night.
Bye, everybody.
Night.